Um, Good afternoon, everybody. So this is a demonstration of this of a new virtual law firm platform that's designed to, um, let's put it this way, reduce the friction in the process between pro bono attorneys and legal aid administrators and clients. And what happens in this system is that each pro bono attorney gets essentially their own storefront through which they can deal with those clients that are online. And so you can collaborate, communicate, provide legal advice, do work with documents to each client that chooses to sign up through each individual lawyer's what we call the storefront, which is branded for New Mexico legal aid. And this is similar to a direct law, what we call our direct law platform, which we use for private law firms, except there's no e-commerce because all the services are provided for free. And we think that in the fullness of time, this provides greater efficiency and productivity in terms of everybody who's participating in the system, as well as enhancing what I call benefits to clients. And we know that not obviously every client has internet access, but you'd be surprised how many people do, and certainly do through an iPad or a mobile phone. And we are moving towards making this whole system mobile compatible, which is one way in which clients actually access the system. So the first step is to register. And Greg, you can scroll down for a minute. Registration is simple. You do select a specialty so that we have within our the database the practice areas that you really want to get cases assigned to. And as soon as you register, what happens is the software sets up what we call the storefront and then the attorney dashboard, and sends you a lot of information, including the manual on how to run it, and plus other supporting information, which hopefully enables you. I mean, we find that people can learn how to use this in about an hour. It's pretty intuitive. And the private law firms that we work with and their staff find that they can get it up and running with a couple of hours of practice. So the first thing we want to take a look at, I don't know if you pull this up, Gregor, pull up the storefront part. Go to the storefront rather than the dashboard. Pull a storefront up. So after you register, the software automatically creates for each attorney this interface. The reason it says Granite on here is that that's me as an attorney because I've registered for the system. And within this, there are services that are available to clients, not only automated documents, but also documents that have been automated in hot docs at the state level. That's the Law Help Interactive documents. And then there are functions in here like legal advice and court coaching. A legal document review means that if a client receives a document from another party, they can upload it ready for the lawyer's review. And each of these functions are really explained under each tab. And once a person looks at this and clicks on a service, they're asked to register. So just click on legal document review for a minute. It explains here the how the function works, and we set this up so that clients are not going to be able to register directly. The client setup is going to come from New Mexico Legal Aid, and that means that the client portal for each of the clients gets set up because that's why we decided to do it. We can set it up so each client can self-register if you want to do it that way. I think we decided to leave it so that New Mexico Legal Aid would actually set up the client side and also approve each lawyer who registers from the front end. So the most important thing to see is what we call the attorney dashboard, which is the way in which these functions are managed in relationship to the clients and in relationship to legal aid. legal aid administrators who are working on this. So I'm going to turn this over to Gregor, and you can go down each of the functions in the left-hand column where it says document automation, legal advice, legal review. Was that a dog? That must be, whose dog is that? Gregor's.
Sorry about that. If you can hear that, someone just rang my doorbell, set my dog off today.
Yeah,
anyway,
I hear your dog.
For the legal aid implementation, the first step in the process is going to be for the
wait a second. We'll have to record this later.
Let me move.
Is the dog talking about the application? Sorry about that. Shut the dog up and then start again. So I'll edit it out. Actually, Greg has trained his dog so his dogs can work on this application pretty well.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
Okay, so the legal aid implementation, the first step in the process is going to be for the administrator to assign a case to an attorney, and that'll generate an email to the attorney telling them that they can go into their administrative dashboard and get the details about the case they've been assigned. So in this example, this firm has been assigned 2 cases. One is that Tom Smith needs a name change, and the other is that George Washington needs a will. So if you click on the case number, you'll get the details of the case that have been entered by the administrator. So we find out that Tom wants to change his name to Jeff, and he can be contacted at that number. So let me go back to the cases. And if it's the type of case that can be completed using one of our automated legal documents, every case has this drop-down menu associated with it. And when you click the drop-down menu, you see some of these functions. If it's a case that can be assisted or helped with one of our interactive documents, they will click this Add Template button. That'll take you to the list of all the documents that are in the system. Scroll down to Wills and find Will for an unmarried person. And that'll automatically associate that will with that document.
Gregor, can I jump in just for a second?
Sure.
Derek, and whoever may watch this video down the road, that if you see in a case or see the same document or one that's not there, that whatever you see would have to be we could try to update this logo and put it in there. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch the end of that. It's if a document's not in the system.
I'm just saying if there's a document that one of the attorneys creates for a case and they're saying to themselves, wow, you know, this is not in that library now, but it would be great because it likely to be more cases we have this issue. We'll try to get that we have here. Yeah, really.
I'm sorry, I still didn't quite catch the end of that. If the document's not in the system, it might be helpful in the future.
All suggested is if the attorneys use the system, they find out that the document they're looking for doesn't seem to be there, and they want to either create it themselves or have us create it to put it in there for future cases, that if it's an issue likely to be seen again, if that's what we want to hear from the attorneys using this. If they're looking for something that's not in that document list, let us know that so that we can either create it ourselves or use what they create for the case to have it there for future cases.
Yeah, and that'd be great feedback. And we also provide the document automation software. It's called Rapidox Author, and that's on the Resources tab, which I just clicked. So if an attorney is pretty tech savvy, they can download this automation software and create their own documents. So they can do that for use within their practice. And if they want to create a document that'd be helpful for legal aid, all the better. So yeah, that would be great feedback to get. Okay, so just to continue on, now we see that if you click on this document preparation tab, we've got this will for an unmarried person that's associated with George Washington. And if the attorney can get the client to log into their own account and do the data entry here, That'd be a big efficiency for them. If the client's not online, then the attorney can click on the name of the document and go through this questionnaire for their client, or they can do it in office. But this does enable the client to do the data intake if they're online. So I won't go through the whole questionnaire, but this is what it looks like. And if you're in the attorney view, you can actually see the document being assembled as you answer the questions.
Gregor, one thing we're trying to organize for the near future as well, so attorneys watching this video will know, we're trying to organize a panel of law students who could also be available. A law student could be assigned to this case, for example. The law student could do some of that interviewing, filling in the answers to assemble the document for the attorney to then later review.
Yeah, that would also be really helpful. So then once all the questions have been answered, you can actually export this document either to .doc format or to PDF format. And then you can deliver it to the client online if they are online, or print it out and deliver to them in paper if they need it that way. But if we go back to the Cases tab, then you can go and communicate with the administrator and say, I finished the will and I delivered to the client today. The administrator can also communicate with the attorney using this platform, this interface. So this will generate an email to the attorney or the administrator saying that there's a new communication associated with this case, and then he can log in and find out what the communication was. And it'll save it in that threaded format, so you can always go back and read it. You can update the amount of time that you spent on the case. We'll just say we spent 1 hour and 20 minutes or 10 minutes on the will. And that's going to help legal aid keep track of how long each of these interactions are taking. And then if it's finished, you can mark the case as complete. You get one more chance to update your time that way. And that'll send an email to the administrators telling that that case has been completed, and they can log into their section and find out how long it took to complete. And if you want to associate a document like that completed will, you would click that upload file, and that's not going to send it to the client, but that's going to make it available for the legal aid administrators to review the work if necessary. So I'll just go down a few of the other functions of DirectLaw. There's legal advice email. So if a client has a legal issue and they don't need any documents or any other kind of legal product, they just need some legal advice, you could set up a legal advice email with them. And we call it email, but it really goes back and forth through the platform. So they could log in whenever they want to and ask the question. You can log in whenever you want to and answer it, and it can go back and forth until you decide that it's completed, and then you would just mark it as complete. Legal document review, Richard touched on earlier. That would be if they got a document from another party, they would, if they're able to upload it to the system, they would upload it, and you would be able to review it on this tab. Legal advice phone call is just what it sounds like, but you can use this platform to set up the time and day, and they get a reminder of when it's going to happen. Same thing with legal advice by webcam. Legal services is a newer function, and we made this available for attorneys that are using this as part of their practice, and they have a legal service that they perform a lot, but it's not really a document, it's not legal advice, it's something that doesn't fit into one of those categories, and they can actually just, if you click Edit Legal Services, then click Add Service, they can add that service, and then it'll appear on that storefront that Richard showed earlier. If you click on the Law Help tab, these are several documents that have been automated in Hot Docs, and we've just made them available through DirectLaw. So if you click on any of these questionnaires, you can go through the Hot Docs questionnaire, and at the end of it, it'll generate that document, so either the name change or the divorce. And once you have that document, you can upload it to the client space like I showed you earlier for the RapidDocs automated documents. If you want to get any more information about any of the clients of in your system, they're going to have a row on the View Clients tab, and each of the clients has a drop-down menu, so you can see what their password is. You can actually suspend them so they can't log into their platform if you have to do that for any reason. You can upload files to their space. You can view any messages that they've sent you through the system. Export a vCard that you can import into Outlook or any other program. And you can, if you're a Clio or Rocket Matter subscriber, you can actually export the client to Clio or Rocket Matter through the platform. Calendars also, you can remind them of important dates that are coming up, like if they have to come into your office or if they have to go to court. You can set that up on their calendar and they'll get a reminder that way. Communications is, it just puts all the communications between you and your clients in one place, and it'll keep them there forever, so you can sort them by the last action, which means the most recent one that was either asked or answered, when they were created, who they're from, what the subject was. And one other thing that I just wanted to show about DirectLaw in general, the attorney dashboard, is that every screen has this blue question mark on it, and if you click that, you get a detailed help section about how to use that particular page, and there's also the ability to print that out. So I think that's all I wanted to show about the attorney dashboard. If there are any questions, I can answer those.
Gregor, is there a way to show what the client sees? Like, say you're the attorney and you're wanting to notify them of a court date or something, and you're using the calendar feature. Is there a way to show what it looks like on the client side, like once you send that?
Yeah, let's go ahead and set up a date for this client. And we'll make it March 15th. Okay, so there's his calendar, and I'll show you how to log into your client's platform. Like I said, every client in the system has this drop-down menu, and you can actually view their password there. So let me get the password. And then if we go back over here to the client side, they click on My Legal Affairs. This is one thing that would be nice to show. We're going to ask clients to accept a limited services agreement when they first log in. So after they've read and accepted that agreement and checked that box and click continue, they won't have to do that again, but the first time they log in, they actually have to do that.
Gregor, one thing we can talk about it later, but one thing we wanted to explore, the white space that was to the right side of that limited license agreement, we could put some just plain English overview introduction to the clients, because a lot of clients may feel a bit unsure of what all that is going to mean.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great idea, especially the legal aid. Just maybe a 1, 2, 3. What am I actually agreeing to?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so this is what the client sees when they log in, and quickly to jump over to the calendar, they would see that event that they have coming up. But you might have noticed earlier that I set up a reminder for them, and so March 14th, that client is actually going to get a reminder via email that they have this date coming up. Okay, and like I mentioned earlier, if the client is online and has access to the system, they'd be able to answer that questionnaire themselves. And when they're finished, they would click submit. That would send an email to the attorney saying, hey, the client finished the questionnaire and it's ready for preparation now.
Now the emails that the clients get, are those on their regular email or the specific DirectLaw email?
It's their regular email address, and we try to keep anything that would be confidential information out of the email because it's not as secure as logging into the platform. So it's more of a notification that they have to log into the platform to see what the actual communication was or the actual document is. We try not to send anything confidential via those emails. They're just notifications.
Now, you said that you can export the information to Rocket or Clio.
Correct.
Set it up to export it to Pica, if that's what you're using there?
We did look into Pica, and they don't really have much of what's called an API, which is how we do these data transfers. So there wasn't really a clear path to export this information to Pica. Not at this time.
That's a future improvement that we're working on, trying to negotiate with Pica how to do it at a cost we can afford.
All right. Okay, so are there any other questions or anything else you'd like to see on the platform?
For clients without email or access to email, if they're logging in through like a public computer, are they able to then just access communications separately on the platform? I think that's what you were asking earlier. Also, without email addresses.
Yeah. In the way the system is set up, every client has to have an email address. That's how we keep them unique in the system. So I guess if they don't have an email address, then you'd have to set up just kind of a dummy email address for them, and they'd have to use that to log in.
In the beginning, we're going to focus on clients who already have an email address and have some level of familiarity with using web-based systems. But then as
Right.
the couple that is working well for that group of clients, then we'll come up with ways to offer people an email address like Hotmail, Gmail.
And also, the client doesn't have to necessarily log in to get the legal service that DirectLaw provides or the legal aid attorney provides. There are certain cases that would be helpful if they log in, like the legal advice emails or the legal documents where they're filling out the questionnaire, but they don't necessarily have to log in, probably not for most of the legal services provided.
So Gregor, I'm seeing the legal advice calls. Does that mean that you can call someone through this, or?
This is more for facilitating the time for the phone call.
Oh, right, okay.
And just keeping track of the fact that it happened. So if the attorney sets one up in here, they can take notes about what the call was about. They'll have the phone number there.
And what happens at the end? So the attorney gives advice with the document and all that. Where is it all stored, and how can we extract it? Where we need to put it?
So that would it would all stay on the cases tab, and even after you've marked it complete, it's going to stay there. Anything that happened, the files are going to stay associated with it. So I can just.
Gregor, to get part of this question, I want to make sure I understand. If Eric himself, or if we needed a copy of the pleading that was filed, we could go into this system and basically send the copies wherever we need it stored elsewhere. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
You could just go into the case number, basically, is what you're saying, and find the document through the case number, right? Because it automatically saves it?
Right. Every document in the system has that case, or has the case number that is associated with it.
Okay.
So.
We wanted the pleading that was filed, or the advice letter, or whatever else it was, and we needed a copy for our own files. We could get it from here and do that pretty easily.
Right. Another thing of the that I want to show about the DirectLaw platform, that every screen has this quick search feature. So if you type in just a case number, you can find things that way. So it's not that helpful when there are only 2 cases in the system, but if you start to do a lot of these, it'll be helpful to find it that way. Or you can search by the client's name and filter it that way too. And most of the screens in the attorney dashboard have that quick search feature.
Gregor, what's the legal advice by webcam?
It's pretty much the same as legal advice phone call. It's just a way to facilitate the timing of it and also to keep track of it and take notes about it. But it would just differentiate between a phone call and a webcam session like a Skype.
For any attorneys who are watching this video in the future, if you do have a client that you'd like to have that at least face-to-face video call with, and the client doesn't have a webcam at their end, we can arrange for them to come to our closest office, wherever that is in the state, they can use our webcam links there.
Yeah, some people would really like the face-to-face even if they can't do it in person. Okay, any other questions or anything else you'd like to see?
I see one more thing that's at the very end of the tabs, and it says Virtual Associate Support. Does that link them to us, or does that link them to you all?
This is actually something we set up a long time ago with Legalese, and it's kind of a window to the services that they provide.
Oh, okay.
Richard could probably explain more about it. I think it's priced pretty low, and it's kind of like getting a virtual legal assistant.
Yeah.
Fixed price.
Yeah, it's another service that's just embedded in there. It's optional, obviously.
The other version of this, Gregor and Rich, is that we are going to try to provide volunteer paralegals and volunteer law students for cases that are more than the usual amount of work, and that they can provide the same kind of service. They'll have a lot of cases assigned to you, and they'll be able to do research and drafting and interviewing and all that kind of stuff for you as well. That's how we're hoping to do it.
What's the question?
Gregor, can you just kind of show us, at least from the attorney side, just do like a pretend, I guess, email to the client and send it over, and then we'll look at the client side to see what they get?
Sure. Let's bring up George Washington again. So,
So you're just giving like legal advice. You're not going to exchange any documents, and you just have to, you know, send them a message.
right. Okay, so we would go up here and click Create Communication. Start to type his name, and it'll autofill. Oops. Okay, so what that'll do is send an email to the client telling him that he has to log into his platform and find out what the communication was.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just switch over to the platform. And then on the collaboration tab, that communication will appear. It gets its own reference number in the system, so click that. And it brings up the communication from the firm, and they can also respond here. And this can go back and forth for as long as the attorney decides that this communication is open. Eventually, the attorney can decide that this communication, everything that has to do with this reference number is done. And that'll make it so that the client can no longer post to that reference number, but they'll always be able to go back in and look at it. and there's a print button up there so they can print it out.
Okay.
Go back in then.
Okay. So let's say you wanted to close that communication. How would the attorney do
You know, I was actually thinking about the legal advice email because in the commercial version of DirectLaw, you can actually charge for those legal advice emails, and that's the case where you might want to say, okay, this has gone on long enough for the amount that I charged for this legal advice, and you could end it at that point. The communications just stay open since they're free and they're not necessarily about legal advice.
So there's this distinction between the communications and the emails, right?
Right.
Okay.
The idea is that the legal advice email is actually legal advice. The communication can be about anything, really.
Okay.
And is this all happening in the cloud, or is this, or, that's a silly question, but is this cloud-based?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
Is this in the cloud?
Yeah, you could consider it in the cloud, but we have servers in Baltimore in a data center. So there are actual physical servers that we know where they are. They're in Baltimore.
And they store all the information,
Correct.
all the content?
Backup offsite. It's a very secure facility.
And what requirements does the client have or the attorney have for in terms of the computers to make this work? Do they need to be online? Do they need to be Wi-Fi? What do they need to have?
Just any. It works in any browser. They just need to be online. There's no particular software that they would need.
And so you could use this with your phone as long as you had the browser, I mean, as long as you had the internet on your phone, right? It might not be as look like this on your phone, but if we had a client who has, you know, like an iPhone or something, then they could use this to communicate with their attorney.
Yeah, and we're looking at ways to make this appear better in the browser, in the on a smartphone. With the attorney dashboard, there's just so much there that we're looking at ways to kind of compress it and maybe take certain things out so it'll come out better on an iPhone. And the same on the client side. We've made progress with the Rapidox questionnaire so that it actually works pretty well on the iPhone now. And I think we can work on the communication facility too, so that'll work really well on an iPhone. So there's certain areas that we can definitely make look better on mobile devices.
We actually do a walkthrough, one of the Rapidocs, maybe like.
Sure.
Yeah.
The one that I picked out before is a pretty long one, the will. So let me just pick out a shorter one.
Be like a power of attorney or something. Incredibly time saving.
There we go. one nice feature is that once you've entered an answer, it'll start to autofill those answers, so you don't have to type the same thing over and over again. And all the questions have help prompts, so it's designed to make it easy enough for lay people to fill out. And we do have direct-to-consumer sites where we sell some of these legal documents, so we put a lot of effort into making them user-friendly. Another nice feature is the progress indicator. So it tells you which sections you've answered, which sections you still have to get to, and you can click these progress sections just to jump to different parts of the document. And for when an attorney is looking at Wrap Docs, we've made it so that they can actually edit the document directly if you want to. And you could also edit certain parts of the text, like make it bold and italic right within the browser. Oops.
And so this is from the attorney perspective, so you could actually be doing this over the phone with the clients also. Is that correct, or is this pretty much how it looks from the client?
On the client side, we've actually hidden the document so that all they see is the questions. We could change that so that the client can see the document as a thing. It's not what we find that most attorneys prefer, that they just see the questions. And it doesn't work in real time where two people can work on the same document. It's designed so that one person logs in and works on the document at a time.
But the client can answer the questions him or herself, upload it to the platform, the attorney can look at it the next day, and then the attorney can make direct edits if needed. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
I said the client can use the client-facing system to answer these questions on Monday, and then it would upload to the platform for the attorney on Tuesday. If the attorney wanted to go directly into the text to make edits, they could do that at that point. Is that right?
Correct, yeah. Another nice feature about Wrap Docs is it only asks the questions that are relevant. So depending on what you answer previously within the questionnaire, you could get more questions or you could get some questions taken away. Okay, so now that document's been completed, I'll just show you what it looks like when we export it.
That's great, Gregor. So then, Dina, this gets to your question. Then you could save this copy to the find the file.
Yeah, save that as anyone you want. Email it around again.
Okay, that was a PDF, and I'll just show you what it would look like in Word.
still tweak it.
And so then you can send that to the client, correct?
Right, and by send to the client, you could do that either through the platform or to their email address, or you could print it out and mail it to them, however they need to get it.
Okay.
And just to let all the attorneys who might watch this video know, we want to work very closely with you if you're helping a client who's miles distant from your office or even in another town, that we could have our staff or other folks that we could recruit to facilitate things like having the client sign documents when needed.
We don't have electronic signature.
No.
Gregor, can you send it to the client and then see what it looks like? Because you said on the client side it's not going to show where you can just click into the document and edit it, right? It'll just show the questionnaire part. Will it come up with the questionnaire part once you submit it to them?
Oh, no. I'll just click submit.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we'll also mark it as complete.
Okay.
Okay, so this gives you the option to notify the client that the documents have been completed.
Right.
Now if we go back over to the client side and go back to the legal documents tab, okay, I'll have to figure out why it didn't show up there. It should be under completed documents. That's where they would be able to get to it. And they'd just be able to download it. They wouldn't be able to go back into the questionnaire at that point.
Okay. So you
But just just to show you what I was talking about earlier, that the client can't actually see the document being assembled. These little help prompts that they would have had to click the question mark to see just come up where that document would have been. So it makes it a little bit more user-friendly. They see the help as they're answering the question instead of having to click the buttons. They just don't actually see the document being assembled. And they can actually communicate with their attorney right in the document. So if they have a question about how to fill out the questionnaire, they can just click that. Okay, anything else you can think of?
No, well, later, if there's any more questions from folks in the room here, I just want to say for the video, for people who watch in the future, again, contact Asia and Dina to let them know what you like about it as well as what you would like to see changed or have more explanation of, because we want to make sure we reinforce the good things that this does. If there's things that you think can be improved, we want to hear your ideas so we can try to do that as well.
Absolutely. That's the best way to improve the platform is to get real feedback.
And what's the first step for signing up?
You've already made it, Derek. You've already made it.
I'm already in
So
the system.
we will get you the link that you saw the attorney sign in at the very beginning.
Yes, this one right here.
Yeah, there we go, the attorney registration form. And so all you have to do is just fill that out, and then it sends us, well, Gregor, you could probably tell them better than I can. It sends the administrators an email, right?
Right, and then you have to approve the registration that came in, and once you approve it, they'll get access to their attorney dashboard, and they'll also get an email that tells them what the link is to their storefront where their clients can log in.
And I just see I said a typo, specialties.
Oh, yes, let me scroll down to that.
I think missing an L.
And Gregor, she was saying that it's misspelled. The word specialties itself is misspelled.
The word specialty. Oh, whoops. Okay. Thank you. We'll fix that. Spelling is not a specialty of ours.
Fastest power of attorneys in the history of New Mexico probably are, I guess.
Well, Gregor, Rich, we want to thank you very much for building this the drug law community here in New Mexico. And we're very excited about working with you both and seeing what this can do for our clients and for the attorneys who volunteer to help our clients. Especially want to thank anybody who's watching this video for signing up to be part of this. We think this is going to be a big help. A lot more people receive the help you can provide with less time burden on you.
Okay. Well, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye-bye. Have a good weekend, everybody.
You too.
Thank you. Too.